Welcome back to the channel, guys. One of the questions that we get a lot is, why would I buy my parts from you? So it's a topic that we've been meaning to touch for a while now, and we just constantly forget. But Day One stopped by and brought us nice equipment over, so we thought, hey, let's make a better video about it. But anyways, first and foremost, I guess, performance shop oriented. We're the installers. We have to take these parts that you've chose, and we have to place them in your car. And as you can see, like even just a quick look, it's not always the easiest to just bolt something on. So this isn't like a regular repair facility where you're like, I got a wheel bearing for a 98 Ford Taurus. It's like, the parts kind of have to fit, or else in the end you're gonna pay more because it's gonna take us longer to install. So it's a common thing where people go, oh, I provided my own parts. I bought them from Amazon or someplace on the internet because it was $14 cheaper. Well, in the long run, that $14 is gonna be diminished if it takes your installer an hour longer or 2 hours or 5 hours longer. Or like the Chinese parts, there's a ton of them out right now where people are copying, and the problem with those is none of them fit, none of them last, they need replaced after. And so the thing is, for good reason, those few extra dollars, even if it is more expensive, doesn't go into the owner of the business's pocket. It goes into the technician's time, it goes into you get a longer lasting part, and it goes in basically for us to put a package together that works better for you in the end, to where you don't have to have all this guesswork and being like, hey, hopefully this works out together, hopefully this does. The same thing with horsepower packages. So we do a lot of power packages, and guys will constantly ask me, how did your Corvette make 670 rear wheel horsepower? Or how did Dick's 6-liter make 500 wheel? And it's because we have the experience time and time and time again, tried and true, where we take a combination of the camshaft, the cylinder heads, a compression ratio, the intake manifold, whatever it may be, and we have this combination of parts that works extremely well together. And that is why we sell the packages and the parts to you. And that's so that you can have a tried and true combination as well. So I hear it a lot, and it happens a lot. Literally almost weekly, we get called and price shopped, and guys will say, well, I found it for $60 less or $100 less, whatever it may be. And within that next week or two, they end up coming to us anyways and buying missing pieces to that kit, if you want to call it a kit, or hey, it came with these really cheap, this part was really cheap and plastic and junk, and so we ended up selling them something anyway, so it costs them more in the long run. So it's not that the performance shops are just, marking things up crazy to get rich, because that is not the case. The case is it's easier, we know it works best, we know it lasts the longest, and we know it works together. So that in itself is why we put together packages, or that is why we sell parts as well. Like I said, weekly, it's a situation we handle, and it's a constant struggle with us because people want to save money, and I understand we all want to save money, we get the most for our buck. But in the performance industry, money is what makes power. So it's not skimping. It's a dollar amount, just like this car. This car will be fast. It's a little bit of skill, just a little bit, but mostly money. So for instance, one of our friends, I guess he was a customer and now he's our friend, older gentleman, Scott. He brought us a GMC. It's a red Silverado, like mine, GMC Sierra's version. He bought it, really nice truck. It was already built when he purchased it. He picked it up, brought it to us, and we baselined it. And he thought it was, he bought it with the intention or the assumption that it was going to make 450 rear wheel horsepower. Well, we threw it on the dyno and it made like 360. So it was just, incompatible cam, lacklusting cylinder heads, piss poor torque converter, just all these things. And it's not that it was junk or bad, it was just mismatched. So we worked over the cylinder heads, changed the intake manifold, changed the camshaft, and tailored the converter to it. And it ended up making like 470 rear wheel horsepower with like 3 or 4 changes. And the truck went from, he bought it with the assumptions it made like 450 to the tire, and it didn't. So when he took it to the track, it was running mid to low 12s as is. And it's like, yeah, it probably makes like 350, 360. We threw it on the dyno and made 360. So like I said, just in that, he didn't know what he was getting into. He purchased the truck. He got the big seller spiel about what was all done to it, and a lot of it was. It was just the guy had just the wrong cam. It was supposed to be ported heads. It wasn't, this, that, and the other. So situations like that, it's just, you get your expectations and you put money into it, and then you fall short, so then it crushes you. And the chances are it's just because whoever did it before, or the parts that you've chosen, just they're not compatible together. And not to say not compatible, but they don't work extremely well together. So, similar situation like my red Silverado. When I first built the 408, I was like, this is gonna make 600. Well, I put it together, and I don't want to say I skimped, but I bought OEM cylinder heads that were CNC ported from Lingenfelter and did a few things. Nice combination. Put it together and it made 550. I tried everything. I'm like, man, something must be wrong. You know, so then it was like, well, maybe I need a better set of cylinder heads. So I ended up changing the cylinder heads to an 11-degree aftermarket, same CFM flow. I put them on there and it picked up 30 rear wheel horsepower, so I was making 585. So I'm like, I'm this close. You know, so then I played with the intake tube and changed some stuff, and then ended up putting 2-inch primaries on it, and that finally got me over that 600. So the 1 7/8 headers to the 2-inch on that 408 picked up 14 rear wheel horsepower alone, and it's one of the small factors that people overlook when they're putting together a combo. And if you're already buying headers, you know, if that engine can breathe enough to need a 2-inch primary, it's the time to buy them. So the same thing as that. So now, like, I spent the better part of a year piecing that same combo together and picked up 50 horsepower just by improving what I already had. So then, to touch base on that even more, we spent the better part of a year putting our website together. Dick spent a ton of time inputting data and individual pieces on there. We still have a long ways to go on it, and it's still fresh. We haven't really pushed it a lot because we haven't had a lot of time to put forth to it, but the same thing with the website. If you're browsing the website, or in other companies, this isn't about just us, if you're browsing a website and you're unsure of something, don't just click, call us. One of the two of us is gonna get on with you and we'll chat you and walk you through it. If Dick doesn't know the combination, he'll put you through to me and we can put something together for you. So we don't want you just to buy stuff and then be stuck with it. We want you to have something that's what you're looking for. So then the next point is we wanna thank everybody for constantly watching our videos. We know that they've been a little piss poor throughout the years, and that's because we have a lot of things going on and we just kind of throw stuff together because we want to keep you guys involved. But so the next step is we're going to try to tighten these up a little bit, format them a little bit, have a little bit better, basically ground basis for it so that each video kind of makes more sense and keeps you guys more intrigued. Try not to beat a dead horse and make them too long and boring. But yeah, we want to thank everyone for watching. We're, 3 million views or so right now, which, comparatively speaking to some isn't a lot, but to us that is a lot. A couple small town guys that just put something together. I started the videos with little Honda videos that were 10-second clips, and I didn't realize at the time 10 years ago that if I'd made an actual video I would have had a lot more traction by now. But even then, for years I just put little clips and little pieces and idles and revs and just a quick blast down the track. So there's one thing that we got to work on. First things first, obviously we got to make sure the business is still rolling. So I got to put a lot of my efforts into that, and that takes a lot of time away from my home life and my social life. So the time to make videos and stuff like that is usually a pretty narrow window. But we're really going to try to get on that, and we're going to try to get you guys some really solid content. So yeah, we just want to thank everyone again for following along. We really appreciate everyone. Yeah, so stay tuned and see what's to come.